This is a little fire escape door the guys use to get to this side, so from the sanding area. So it's kind of a bit of an escape hatch. All the colors, and they, for some strange reason, they come to this kind of like Vom green color. These guys were giving me so much grief about what I had for lunch.
What did you have for lunch?
Thing is, okay.
This sounds like it's a bad answer.
The thing is, okay. If you don't eat, you fall apart.
Yeah.
Because, like, especially creatively, like if we're not able to be deeply honest, like with each other, then we have a massive problem. Like, and so, especially in the design team, like people have to know this is what's coming. You know, so not actually, in a cruel way.
I meant to ask you this actually. Like we've talked about your personal design process.
Yeah.
But how does the design process work for Pedersen and Edit now? Because you're not the only person designing stuff now. You've got a team. So, like, how did that evolve, and how does that ecosystem work?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think about it all the time because it's like the lifeblood of the business. It's been cyclical through the growth of our business because design is the core of what we do. Without it, like, we're not here. However, we also have to do a whole lot of other things, like production-related things and things that like run the business and things that deliver the product. You know, so I think like a lot of people talk about that, like 80-20 sort of combination. I find it so interesting because like without all of that production we wouldn't be here, but without the design and the chaos that design brings, production would also not be here, you know. So we like live in that tension all the time, and I'm the instigator of the tension, which is both good and also bad, you know. I understand it in both ways. Like,
why would you say the instigator of it? Because you have a foot in both worlds.
I have a foot in both worlds. Okay. Like, I'm the boss and I like do all that stuff, but I'm also a designer and I'm like a deeply creative, curious person.
Right.
So I kind of like wear the different hats. Sometimes I'm in there as like just this like creative person having fun and exploring, and other times I'm like having to sit down and have like a serious convo with someone. And I find that I suppose I've just gotten used to the like flipping and just being able to like hold both those spaces and try and be the same person like throughout, you know, which is a challenge. But what's not helpful here is as production grows, the pressure of production keeps growing, and people know our lead times are like always this thing we're working on, and then design like has a bigger propensity to create chaos. You know what I mean? Like the bigger the engine. And that's just a challenge. I've kind of just accepted that will always be here, and we just try and manage it as best we can. Like for example, prototyping stuff. I try and do something every week where I'm personally just making something, whether it's like a gift for a friend or something for myself, or just like some random exploration, like how to do something that's just interesting for me, keeps me like out of the desk job space, keeps my brain ticking. Almost always those things don't go forward as products, but some elements of the learning from it does, and somehow finds its way in a product or in a solution down the line, you know. So it's super valuable that we do it, but it always brings chaos because it's like, you know, I'm stopping production for that.
Yeah, but I mean, I would guess otherwise you're going to just have a range of very safely designed products that are designed with production efficiency in mind, and you can't have that. But so let's take an example. So let's talk about the toolbox range. Okay, so I know where the inspiration came from, and we've talked about that in VC and that road trip that you took. But tell me how did the creative process then land in a range with a design team? Is it a democratic design process? Do you oversee it? Do you plant ideas? How does that work?
So it works differently, but in that particular case, we all loved the chair, and we felt like there was so much like scope to make a range from it. And so Amber and I just spent a few hours sketching out all the possible things we could think of that this range would extrapolate into practically, like the joint detail and stuff, like how well would that work across into benches, into tables, into couches, like where would it go? And we kind of just like tried to give ourselves that space of imagining like what are the next iterations of this toolbox thinking, this way of thinking. Where does it naturally go? Where is it forced? Like we don't want to try and force it for the sake of like needing that product, but more like where does it just feel like, oh, that's obviously going to work like that. And as soon as you make a bench, you're like, oh, well, the table is like a bigger bench, scaled up version of a bench. Then you make like something else, I mean, the bench, for example, then became like shelves because it's just 3 tiers of benches, you know. So it's quite like a natural progression, and we try and follow that based on also what we need in the range. Like we've always wanted to have more freestanding shelving, and it's just the weird thing we haven't really spent a lot of time on. We've had 1 or 2 over the years, but they haven't done anything new there for quite a while.
Okay.
I think the last like shelving we did was like 10 years ago, and we were still selling them now, but just thought like, hey, let's give this a shot.
So you and Amber then would think about a range of a range.
We'll sketch out a range, and then we'll refine that some more with a wider team, with James and production guys, and try and like really think about it, like where our skills will come in. Like, hey, we've done that before, that's a problem. Where are the potential issues? And then from that we then picked a bunch that we felt like, let's start with like the core. I think it was like 5 or 6 products to start, because a lot of the detailing, like the detail you can spend years trying to find, but once you have that detail, it's fairly quick to just stretch that out into other pieces. So that part, then Amber works on her own and just goes for it, and then we'll just have like weekly sessions of refining and checking where she's at, and kind of helping. I would just normally help her with like proportion and balance, and like trying to get it all right, and think about production stuff. And James weighs in all the time on like production efficiency or technical like problems that we're going to find. So we've got a cool kind of balance in how we do it. It's not perfect. We often launch products, or we often take products too far before having like pushed them through the production testing kind of fire, and then we have to quickly roll back and do that. I think it just depends, and for me the thing is like I get really creatively inspired to push, and I don't have a long attention span for that. So like I want it to go out now. It's like it's the moment is now, you know. And then I feel like if you don't do it then, it kind of dies. It like sort of sits there for a while, and eventually like 6 months later, like, oh, here's our new chair. And it feels like something about the energy is missing.
I was going to say that. I think for me, like my great design, and it doesn't matter what it is, chair, hi-fi speaker, it's that energy that goes in initially in the first line of the sketch. You can almost feel, that's when people say it's like, hey, I was going to design everything and it's going to be cool. And I think like it's not. It's going to maybe be used as a tool, but that initial energy of a human creating a line on a piece of paper, preferably for me, you can feel it in the thing, right? You can see it there.
Totally,
So I think I would I understand when you say if you left a thing, it's almost like the energy dies in the corner, right? You've got to keep it going. It's a weird thing that like I've noticed that if we don't launch something when the energy's there, we almost never launch it. And I think that's largely because I'm usually the guy kind of pulling it over the line, that last little bit. And I know that if that doesn't happen, if I don't do that, then it can live at 99% done, but just never make it out. Okay, so we talked about a challenge yesterday, and I was thinking about it last night, like a new way of sitting, a new chair. That's where we left it off. Like I went climbing the mountain this morning. Okay. And I was thinking, you're probably sketching and working hard and making stuff. And so what happened?
It's nice that you went climbing, eh? It was quite strange how in that convo it sort of came out right at the end. And we hadn't, at that point, we hadn't yet like sensed the direction, but it felt like, hey, we found a direction here, which is particularly in that low seating kind of space. And a lot of words were thrown out. I went and like downloaded like a stream of consciousness straight after you left, of like just thoughts, and Steph shared that quote, which was really interesting, about like to go on a journey you got to return. Like
the good quote.
Really good quote around like going back, you know, and that sort of landed us in this like meditation stool, prayer stool, low down, traditional seating kind of space. And so we've done some sketches. Amber and I have like spent an hour or two sketching directions, not at all like products, but more just directions for it. And all of them are in that space where there's a stronger focus on materiality. More than function, but like a deep focus on why we're choosing the material and the form. I think the form in this particular case, something from what you said about challenging myself, because that whole conversation we had yesterday about rationality, that is my approach.
It's your safe space.
My safe space, it's my toolbox. So I'm really trying to like stay out of there and go into this uncomfortable and discomfort. I said yesterday, discomfort travels.
Right.
So I'm trying to like travel with the discomfort of like a way that I don't know how to do, you know? And I'm finding this cool. It's got me on the edge, like a little bit, but it's nice. It's nice to be on the edge. So I think we're in the space now. We're going to make some samples today. We've laminated some wood together to create thick volume.
Okay, so that's the materials you're talking about. It's going to be laminated wood.
I don't know, but I think just to start, get the party started. Like for me personally, I have to start making stuff quickly. I don't like to draw for a long time. I like to go and make and then go back to draw and mix those two.
And with wood, are you going to bend it or tweak it or treat it? Or?
I don't know. I think this is what's going to come out.
That's not something you would normally do.
No,
right?
no. And I think this is I keep coming back to saying, well, this is actually a really simple product.
Yeah.
And usually, firstly, that's your mistake. Okay, like where you think, oh, this is going to be easy or simple. It's not. Those are the hard ones. And secondly, the simplicity in this case, I think, allows for depth, like a deeper approach to whatever that is. The feeling, the material, the wear of it. You know, I think there's something in that we actually get to do that we don't normally get to do, like deeper.
It feels to me like you're talking about something which I hope I'm right, because that's why I was kind of wanting to push you into, is to make something that's personal to you. You know, your rational design, you're designing for humanity. But what about something that's deeply personal to Luke Pedersen?
Yeah.
That has, if you're talking about sending stuff out into the world with energy, it has that.
Yeah.
This is something that has meaning to me.
Yeah. So on the way here this morning, I was listening to some nice music and I was just pondering, and I think that the little drive, it's not a very long drive, but the drive always sets me up for the day, and I like to just like let it happen. And I kind of, you know, when you start a journey, like a drive, and you don't know how you got to the end, you like your brain's off. You must be driving, right? You must be like a baby.
It always worries you, because you think like, what did I miss?
Did I drive through a red light, you know? But like, you know, time just, you don't know what's going on. And I found my mind kind of wandering into this one particular detail that I can't really explain, but I saw it and it was like very beautiful, like contrasted color, and then I was like, oh, but that breaks the rules of what we were setting up yesterday.
Right.
And then I thought, okay, this is cool. That's the point.
Journey we're on,
you know?
right? Yeah.
So I don't actually know like what we're going to end up on in terms of product, like final product, but I have a sense for something which I think will be really fun for me personally, and I like the fact that you're giving me that permission, because I need that.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Okay. So what's the next step then?
So next step now is basically I'm going to start in the workshop. Okay. I'm going to go and turn some timber and then play with that in my hands, because I need that tactile.
And can I see some of the sketches?
Yeah. I can show you some sketches, and I can show you, well, what I normally do also is I like to prototype quite fast with like tape and wire and cardboard and just quick stuff, because it really, getting to look at it in physical form starts to really open up different parts of the brain. And I think for a while, like if you just keep sketching, you can go so deep that you don't even know where you are anymore, you know. And I like to kind of come back the whole time and look for possibilities. I did that recently with a lamp. I made this base put a light bulb in it, and then just made paper shades, different shades, just to see where the light went. If you moved it, like how does the light splay up the wall, and then I changed the shape of the shade a few times, and it was so cool because I would never have got there without actually having a physical light bulb shining at it, because you can't like imagine it, even though you could technically, you could probably try to, but it just feels for me much more natural.
I think it has to play into the way that you would naturally design. You know, and you obviously are a very tactile person. And you work with your hands. That's been your history. You know,
and pen and paper. Like for me, is still. I'm way more on that side as well. Like.
Okay.
So
let's have a look at the sketches.
Sweet.
Okay.
Perfect.
Nice. You guys happy?
Yeah.
Happy.